The sky over Baywood Estates was still bruised from the hurricane. Low clouds like torn gray sheets, palm trees bent and broken, salt water drying on cracked asphalt. News helicopters circled all morning, their blades thudding like angry drums over what used to be one of Florida's most exclusive coastal communities. And in the middle of that destruction stood one house, white trim, red brick, blue shutters, standing tall, untouched. That was Elijah Carter's house. And that's where the nightmare began. $10 million. The HOA president had said it like he was ordering coffee. You're liable for the damages. You caused this. It didn't make sense. A hurricane had flattened nearly everything else, yet Elijah's home had survived. Barely a cracked window, a few shingles missing. Neighbors whispered, first in awe, then in suspicion. But when the HOA's formal letter arrived, accusing him of environmental manipulation and demanding $10 million for collective loss, I turned to outrage. This was a black man in a mostly white, wealthy enclave, a software engineer who had saved for a decade to buy his dream home, a father who barbecued on Sundays, who paid his dues on time, who waved to neighbors even when they didn't wave back. And now, somehow, he was being accused of causing a hurricane. The smell of seawater still clung to the air. Sirens wove through the distance, ambulances hauling injured residents, utility trucks crawling over downed power lines. Inside Elijah's living room, the ceiling fan spun lazily above piles of bottled water, flashlights, and extension cords. His 9-year-old daughter, Ava, sat cross-legged on the rug, coloring silently. The television flickered with disaster footage. Roofs ripped off, cars in canals, a yacht halfway through someone's kitchen. Elijah stood by the window, fingers pressed to the cool glass. His stomach churned. He could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. He had spent 2 nights in the hallway with Ava while the wind screamed outside, convinced the roof would peel off any second. He hadn't caused this storm. He had barely survived it, and yet the envelope on his coffee table said otherwise. Notice of liability. The bold letters read, "You are hereby notified that your property's anomalous survival has caused suspicion of interference resulting in catastrophic damage to surrounding homes." It was absurd, but it was real. He dialed the number at the bottom of the page. Baywood Estates Homeowners Association. A brittle female voice answered. Baywood Estates HOA. This is Marlene. This is Elijah Carter on Palm Breeze Drive, he said. I just received a letter. I'm aware, Mr. Carter. Her tone sharpened. You'll need to attend the emergency board meeting tonight at 7. What is this about? You'll be told at the meeting. I didn't cause a hurricane, he snapped. I barely. 7 o'clock. She cut in. Conference room E at the clubhouse. Click. The line went dead. He turned to Ava. She looked up at him with wide, questioning eyes. Daddy, are we in trouble? He crouched down, his hands on her small shoulders. No, baby, we're not in trouble. Some people are just confused. Outside, a pickup truck rolled past slowly, its driver craning to look at Elijah's house. A second car slowed. A man in a polo shirt took out his phone and started filming. Elijah felt the heat rise in his chest. He'd seen this pattern before. People not believing a black man had earned what he had, looking for a way to drag him down. But this was on another level. He checked his watch. 5:42 p.m. He had an hour and change to pull himself together. He showered quickly, the water lukewarm from a half-functioning heater, and changed into clean jeans and a button-up shirt. The house was quiet except for the distant whir of generators down the block. He could smell the faint metallic tang of floodwater outside. He texted his sister Naomi in Atlanta. Need to talk. HOA accusing me of causing the hurricane. $10 million. Call later. 3 dots appeared. What? She replied. Call me an OW. He sent back. Meeting at 7, will explain after. At 6:45, he left Ava with their neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, a retired nurse whose house had taken water damage but remained livable. You go handle your business, she said, shaking her head. This is some nonsense. The clubhouse sat at the edge of Baywood's artificial lake. Its Spanish tile roof partially collapsed from the storm. Inside, the air smelled of damp carpet and coffee. Generators hummed outside, making the lights flicker. Folding chairs were arranged in a semicircle. At the front sat the board. 5 white faces, all in crisp clothes despite the disaster. Marlene, the woman from the phone, perched behind a plastic nameplate. Beside her, HOA President Richard Sloan, a tall man with slick gray hair and a navy blazer, tapped a folder on the table. Elijah walked in. The murmurs started immediately. That's him. The house that's still standing. He must have done something. He sat in the only empty chair. His pulse hammered. Richard Sloan cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, thank you for coming. I didn't have much of a choice, Elijah said. Sloan ignored the jab. You're aware that your property was the only one in Section C to survive with minimal damage? Yes, Elijah said slowly. That's called luck, or good construction, or both. Sloan opened the folder. We believe it's more than that. Elijah blinked. Excuse me. Marlene leaned forward. Residents are demanding answers. Why your home? Why not theirs? I don't control hurricanes, Elijah said, his voice rising. You installed modifications, Sloan said. Underground structures. Reinforcements. Some kind of. What was it, Marlene? Atmospheric shield, she said. Elijah almost laughed. Atmospheric shield? Are you serious? This community lost 37 homes, Sloan said. People are homeless. Insurance premiums will skyrocket. Someone has to be held responsible. And you think that's me? You're the only variable, Sloan said. Your house stands. Others don't. Elijah's hands curled into fists on his knees. That's insane. This is racial. This is scapegoating. You're not going to pin a natural disaster on me. Marlene pushed a paper across the table. We're not pinning. We're notifying. $10 million in damages. We expect payment or legal action will follow. Elijah stared at the paper. The numbers blurred. His ears rang. The room went silent except for the generator hum. Outside, thunder rumbled again. Distant but growing. He stood slowly. This isn't over, he said, his voice low. You're not going to do this to me. Richard Sloan tilted his head, smirking. We already have. Elijah turned and walked out, his heart pounding so hard it hurt as he stepped into the damp night air. A flash of lightning split the sky, illuminating the destroyed homes all around, and his, still standing like an accusation. Somewhere behind him, a neighbor whispered, "He's the reason we lost everything." The words stuck to him like tar. He knew, in that moment, this wasn't just about a storm. It was about survival, in more ways than one. Rain started to drizzle as Elijah walked back to his car. It was a thin, salty mist that stung his cheeks and smelled of wet drywall and gasoline. He gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went pale, staring at the cracked windshield without starting the engine. The HOA's accusation played in his head on a loop, each word heavier than the last. Atmospheric shield. $10 million. Payment or legal action. The absurdity burned in his chest. But so did a cold, creeping fear. This neighborhood had power, connections, lawyers, influence. He had seen it in how they handled everything, from zoning disputes to dog walking ordinances. What chance did he have against them? He turned the key. The engine coughed, then cut. Headlights swept across the flooded street, illuminating piles of ruined furniture and palm fronds. A man in a rain jacket jogged past, glancing at Elijah with a look that was somewhere between curiosity and contempt. The neighborhood was grieving and angry. And now, thanks to the board, they had a face for their anger. Back at Mrs. Jenkins' house, Ava was asleep on the couch, curled under a quilt that smelled of cedar. The old woman looked up from her mug of tea as Elijah came in. How bad was it? They're accusing me of causing the hurricane, he said, his voice breaking with disbelief. $10 million. Mrs. Jenkins set the mug down. Lord have mercy. They said I had some kind of shield or underground structure. Like I'm a supervillain. He sank into a chair. They're serious, Mrs. J. They're going to sue me. They're scared, she said softly. People do strange things when they're scared, but don't you let them railroad you. You hear me? Elijah nodded, staring at the sleeping shape of his daughter. He thought of the years of overtime, the relentless saving, The sacrifice to buy that house. He'd hired the best contractors, used hurricane-resistant materials, double-bolted every door. He'd done it for her, so she'd never have to live through what he had growing up. The moldy apartments, the constant moves, the eviction notices. Now all of it was threatened. His phone buzzed. Naomi was calling. He stepped outside into the damp air to answer. Elijah, what is going on? Her voice crackled. $10 million. Are they insane? They're accusing me of causing the storm, he said. They're blaming me because my house is the only one left standing. That's ridiculous. You need a lawyer, Eli. Immediately. I don't even know where to start, he muttered. We're still without power, and I've got a 9-year-old to take care of. I'm coming down there, she said. Tomorrow I'll take a flight. No, stay in Atlanta. You've got the kids. It's chaos here. Eli, you can't fight this alone, she said. Promise me you'll at least call someone tonight. He hesitated. I'll think about it. Don't think. Do it. Call Marcus Brown. Remember him? Civil rights attorney. Went to college with me. He's in Miami now. I'll text you his number. Elijah sighed. Okay, text it. She did. He saved the contact, but didn't call. Not yet. His hands were trembling. The next morning, sunlight broke through ragged clouds. The neighborhood looked even worse in daylight. Piles of debris lined the streets. The air was thick with the sour smell of wet insulation and spoiled food. FEMA trucks had arrived, their tarps flapping. Volunteers handed out bottled water. Helicopters thumped overhead again, this time carrying TV cameras. Elijah stood in his yard, hammering loose shingles back into place, when a black SUV rolled up. The window slid down. A man in a suit leaned out, his hair perfectly combed despite the humidity. Mr. Carter? Elijah lowered the hammer. Yes? The man handed him an envelope. You've been served. The SUV pulled away before Elijah could speak. Inside the envelope was a formal notice of intent to sue. The HOA had moved faster than he expected. They were accusing him of negligence, property endangerment, and environmental manipulation resulting in catastrophic loss. $10 million in damages, plus legal fees. His stomach turned. He went inside and sat at the kitchen table. Ava was eating cereal, the battery-powered radio playing faint static-filled news. She looked at the envelope. Is that from the bad people? They're not bad people, baby, he said automatically, though the words felt false. They're just making a mistake. He went into the bedroom and closed the door. He scrolled to Marcus Brown's number and pressed call. Marcus Brown La. A warm baritone voice answered. Marcus, it's Elijah Carter, Naomi's brother. Elijah, been years, man. How you holding up? Not good, Elijah said. I'm being sued by my HOA for $10 million. They're saying I caused a hurricane. There was a pause. They're saying what? They're blaming me because my house survived. Marcus exhaled slowly. All right. First off, breathe. Second, don't talk to them anymore without me. Not a word. They're trying to set you up. They already served me, Elijah said. I've got a letter. Good. Send me everything. Every paper, every text, every voicemail. We'll fight this. This is textbook scapegoating. I can't afford $10 million, Marcus. I can't even afford a retainer. You'll pay nothing up front, Marcus said firmly. I'll take the case pro bono if I have to. They're not going to ruin you over this. Elijah's throat tightened. Thank you. Stay calm. Keep records. And if anyone tries to harass you, record it. I'll be there tomorrow. Elijah hung up, feeling a flicker of hope. He walked back into the kitchen. Ava was at the window watching a group of neighbors point at their house from the street. Daddy, she whispered. They're staring again. He came up behind her and pulled the curtain shut. Let them stare, he said. We're not going anywhere. The day dragged on. Reporters showed up at the end of the block, their microphones catching the wind. Neighbors gave interviews, some shaking their heads, some gesturing toward Elijah's house like it was a crime scene. He tried to keep Ava occupied with board games, but every knock at the door made her flinch. Late in the afternoon, as he stepped outside to bring in supplies, He saw Richard Sloan himself walking up the path, blazer pressed, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Carter," Sloan said smoothly, "we need to talk." "No, we don't," Elijah said. "My lawyer will handle it." "You're making this harder than it needs to be," Sloan said. "People are angry. They want answers. You give us the settlement. This goes away quietly." "I'm not giving you a dime," Elijah said. "I didn't cause this storm." Sloan's eyes hardened. "Then you'll be very sorry." Elijah took a step closer. "Get off my property." For a moment, Sloan just looked at him. Then he turned and walked away, shoes crunching on wet gravel. But as he left, Elijah noticed two other board members filming on their phones from the street, building a narrative. Inside, his phone buzzed again. A new text from Marcus. "I'm landing at 9 a.m. tomorrow. We'll start fighting back." Elijah exhaled. For the first time since the storm, he felt like maybe he wasn't alone. But he also knew that the real fight hadn't even started. Outside, the clouds thickened again, and a low rumble of thunder rolled over Baywood Estates, as if the sky itself was warning him. Morning came heavy and humid, the kind of Florida morning where even the air felt swollen. Elijah woke to the sound of helicopters and hammering. The neighborhood was crawling with FEMA workers, contractors, insurance adjusters. His phone had blown up overnight. Messages from Naomi, Marcus, even old coworkers who'd seen his name trending on Twitter. Someone had posted a photo of his untouched house next to a line of splintered homes. The caption read, "WHYDID this and you survive?" Comments spiraled beneath it. Conspiracy theories, racist slurs, people claiming he had, whether tech or government connections. He was becoming a hashtag. He sat at the kitchen table staring at his coffee, hands trembling slightly. Eva patted in, still in her pajamas. "Daddy, why is there a man with a camera outside?" Elijah went to the window. Two news vans were parked at the curb, camera operators setting up tripods. A reporter in a bright dress rehearsed into a mic. Across the street, neighbors whispered and pointed. Some filmed on their phones, others just glared. He closed the curtain. "Stay inside, baby," he said. A knock rattled the door. 3 hard thuds. Elijah's stomach tightened. He opened it a crack. "Mr. Carter?" A young man with a lanyard and press badge stood there. "I'm with Channel 9 News. Can we get a quick comment?" "No comment," Elijah said and shut the door. Another knock, softer this time. "Mrs. Jenkins." "Eli," she whispered. "There's a crowd gathering down the block. Folks are saying things. You should be careful." "Thanks," he said. "We'll stay in." He tried to busy himself, sorting storm debris from the yard. But every movement felt watched. Even when he crouched to pick up broken branches, he could feel eyes on his back. At 9:15, Marcus Brown arrived, a tall black man in a tan suit. He looked like calm in human form. He clasped Elijah's hand at the door. "Brother," he said quietly, "we're going to get through this." Inside, Marcus spread papers on the kitchen table, scanning the HOA's lawsuit. "They've filed in county court," he said. "They're alleging you created a hazard that magnified the storm's effect on neighboring properties. It's nonsense. But they're framing it as negligence mixed with intentional interference. They're calling it an atmospheric shield," Elijah said bitterly. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That's not even a thing." "They don't care if it's a thing," Elijah said. "They just want someone to blame. They want a payout." Marcus said, "They're betting you'll settle instead of fighting." "We're not going to settle." Elijah rubbed his face. "Marcus, this neighborhood, they have money. They have lawyers. I have lawyers too," Marcus said. "And I know this playbook. Scapegoating, intimidation, racial bias. We'll file a counterclaim for defamation and harassment. But first, we need to control the narrative." Elijah frowned. "What do you mean?" "Media," Marcus said. "Right now, they're painting you as a villain. We need to show who you really are. A father, a homeowner, a man who followed the rules." "I don't want cameras in my house," Elijah said. "You already have cameras on your house," Marcus replied, gesturing to the window. "Better you tell your story than let them make one up." Elijah thought of Eva hiding behind the curtains, I won't put my daughter on TV. You don't have to, Marcus said. We'll keep it about you, your work, your home, your preparation. Show people you're not a monster. Before Elijah could respond, shouting erupted outside. He and Marcus went to the door. Down the street, a cluster of residents had gathered, holding hastily made signs. Justice for Baywood. Stop the weather weapon. No more lies. A man with a bullhorn yelled, "We demand answers from Elijah Carter." Elijah's chest tightened. Marcus put a hand on his shoulder. "Let me handle this." They stepped outside. The crowd's noise dipped when they saw Marcus. Cameras swiveled. Someone shouted, "Who's that?" Marcus raised his voice, steady and clear. "My name is Marcus Brown. I'm Mr. Carter's attorney. He has done nothing wrong. He is not responsible for the hurricane, and these accusations are baseless." The crowd muttered. A woman yelled, "Then why is his house fine?" Marcus spread his hands. "Because he prepared. Because he built responsibly." "That's not a crime," a man shouted. "He should pay for the damage." "Why?" Marcus asked. "For surviving? For being prudent? Or for being different?" The crowd's noise grew uneven, some angry, some unsure. Marcus guided Elijah back inside. "Don't engage directly," he murmured. "Let me be your shield." Inside, Elijah felt both grateful and humiliated. His home had become a stage for a battle he didn't want. Ava peeked from the hallway. "Daddy, are they mad at us?" "No, baby," he said softly. "They're just scared." Marcus gathered his papers. "We'll file motions today, and I'll hold a press conference tomorrow. We're going on a fence." "A fence?" Elijah repeated. "If you let them control the story, you've already lost," Marcus said. "We'll show the receipts, your construction permits, your hurricane prep, everything, and we'll expose the bias behind their claims." As Marcus spoke, Elijah's phone buzzed with a new notification. A video clip. He tapped it. Someone had filmed Sloan's visit the day before, editing it with ominous music. The caption read, "Baywood stormmaker refuses to pay." Thousands of views, hundreds of comments. He scrolled, seeing his name called everything from wizard to terrorist. His throat felt dry. "They're going to ruin me," he whispered. Marcus put a hand on his arm. "Not if we move fast." That afternoon, a deputy sheriff knocked at the door. "Mr. Carter, I'm here to deliver a restraining order. The HOA claims you've been harassing board members." The deputy's tone suggested he didn't buy it either, but paperwork was paperwork. Elijah signed, his hand shaking. Marcus took the papers, scanning them quickly. "This is bogus," Marcus muttered. "They're trying to box you in so you can't speak to them directly." Elijah exhaled shakily. "They're trying to break me, which means you're dangerous to them," Marcus said. "That's good. It means they're scared of losing." Evening fell. The crowd outside thinned as curfew approached. Elijah sat with Ava on the couch, watching cartoons on the battery-powered TV. He could hear Marcus in the next room on the phone, his voice calm but clipped, speaking legal language Elijah didn't understand. When Marcus came back, his expression was set. "We filed the counterclaim," he said. "Harassment, defamation, racial discrimination. We're demanding they cease public accusations immediately." Elijah rubbed his temples. "How long does this take?" "It won't be overnight," Marcus admitted. "But the tide can turn fast. One good story, one solid piece of evidence, and their narrative collapses." Elijah stared at the dark window, his own reflection looking back at him. "Evidence," he said slowly. "I might have some." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I have security cameras," Elijah said. "Front and back. They were rolling during the storm. They show everything. How the wind hit, how the house held. Maybe even some of the board members sneaking around after." Marcus's eyes lit up. "Download all of it tonight. Back it up twice. Bring me copies tomorrow." "I will," Elijah said. Thunder rumbled again in the distance. Ava crawled into his lap, her small hands clutching his shirt. He held her close, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on them. But for the first time since the letter arrived, he also felt a flicker of resolve. He had survived the storm. Now he would survive this. Outside, a stray sign from the day's protest fluttered against his fence, the paint running in the damp air. "We deserve justice," it read in dripping red letters. Elijah stared at it through the window, then turned away. Justice. Yes, that's exactly what he was going to fight for. Night settled like a damp cloth over Baywood, heavy and muffled. The helicopters were gone, the protesters dispersed, but the street still felt alive with eyes. Elijah sat at his dining table with his laptop open, the glow spilling across stacks of hard drives. He was pulling footage from his security cameras, hour by hour, the slow crawl of progress bars mocking his exhaustion. Ava had fallen asleep on the couch, a blanket tangled around her small legs. Marcus had left an hour ago, promising to file motions at first light. The house felt too quiet now, like the storm had sucked something out of it. The footage rolled silently across the screen. Wind whipping, branches flying, shingles tearing off other roofs like paper. His own house stood firm, shutters sealed, walls flexing but holding. He built it with reinforced concrete, hurricane glass, steel beams. Not magic, not a weapon, just preparation. Yet the images looked uncanny even to him. His house calm, while chaos howled around it. It did look like a fortress. He clicked through another angle. The backyard camera showed more. A figure moving along the fence in the lashing rain. Hood up, shoulders hunched. Not a neighbor checking on damage. Too deliberate. The figure paused, lifted a phone, and took pictures through the downpour. Then it slipped away toward the cul-de-sac. Elijah froze the frame, zoomed in, but the hood hid the face. Still, the stance, the build. It looked like Sloan. He sat back, pulse drumming in his temples. If Sloan had been sneaking around during the storm, taking pictures, it meant the narrative had been built before the hurricane even passed. He saved the clip, copied it twice, then moved to the front yard camera. More rain, more wind. Another figure appeared briefly at the edge of the street. Different build, shorter, also holding a phone, taking pictures. Two of them. He scrubbed forward. Minutes later, the HOA truck drove slowly past, its headlights off. Elijah stared at the screen until his eyes burned. He heard a sound, soft, like a footstep in the hall. He snapped his head up. Ava was still asleep. The sound came again, closer to the back door. Elijah moved silently, heart hammering, and reached into the drawer for the heavy flashlight he kept there. He clicked it on and strode to the kitchen. The back door curtain swayed slightly. He yanked it aside. Nothing but his yard, dark and wet. Then he saw it, a slip of paper taped to the outside of the glass. He opened the door and snatched it. No signature, just block letters. "Stop fighting or our next storm hits inside." The paper was damp, the ink bleeding. He shut the door fast, bolted it, then stood there breathing hard. Someone had been right at his door while he was inside with his daughter. He went back to the table and laid the note next to his hard drives. His hands trembled. He wanted to call Marcus, but it was past midnight. He looked at Ava sleeping, her small chest rising and falling. He couldn't wake her, couldn't frighten her. He sat down, burying his face in his hands. They weren't just suing him. They were trying to scare him into submission. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered without thinking. A voice hissed through static. "Take the deal, Carter. Sell the house. Leave quietly, or we'll bury you." "Who is this?" Elijah whispered. Click. The line went dead. He stared at the phone. Then, without thinking, he started recording a voice memo, his voice low but steady. "This is Elijah Carter. It's 12:43 a.m. Someone just threatened me anonymously, demanding I leave my home. This is intimidation." He saved the file. Evidence. Everything had to be evidence now. He spent the next hour creating a folder labeled HO Evidence. He dragged in the threatening note, the security clips, the voice memo, the legal papers Marcus had left. He uploaded copies to the cloud, to a USB, to a hidden drive. Every click felt like digging trenches. At 2:07 a.m., he heard a faint hum outside, an engine idling. He went to the window and peered through the curtain. A dark SUV sat at the curb, Lights off. Just shapes inside, watching. He pulled out his phone, zoomed the camera, snapped a picture. The flash reflected off the window and startled him. The SUV's brake lights flared, and it rolled slowly away, disappearing down the street. He stood there long after it was gone, the camera still raised. Morning crept up gray and damp. Elijah had barely slept, slumped in a chair near the door like a guard. When Ava woke, he forced a smile. "Pancakes?" he said, his voice raw. She nodded sleepily. As he mixed batter, he kept glancing at the windows. No news vans today, no protesters. Just a quiet that felt heavier than noise. At 9 a.m., Marcus returned. Elijah handed him the note and the USB. Marcus read the note twice, his jaw tightening. "This is escalating," he said quietly. "We're going to the sheriff today, not just civil court. Criminal intimidation. They're watching us," Elijah said. "Last night, SUV out front, someone at the door." Marcus nodded grimly. "I'll call a friend in the D's office. This isn't just an HOA dispute anymore." Elijah hesitated. "Do you think they could actually hurt us?" Marcus's eyes met his. "I think they're desperate. Desperate people do reckless things. That's why we have to shine light on it before they act." Elijah stared at the pancakes burning in the pan. He scraped them into the trash. "I'm tired of being on defense." "Good," Marcus said. "Then it's time to flip the board." At noon, they set up a camera in Elijah's living room. Marcus coached him briefly. "Be honest. Be calm. Don't argue. Just tell your story." Elijah sat in front of the camera, hands folded, Ava upstairs drawing. He looked into the lens and spoke. "My name is Elijah Carter. I'm a father, an engineer, and a resident of Baywood. I built my home according to code. I prepared for the storm. My house survived because I invested everything I had to protect my daughter. I did nothing wrong. Now my HOA is suing me, threatening me, and spreading lies. Last night someone came to my door with a threat. This is not about safety. This is about power." His voice didn't waver. He laid out the facts, showed the note, showed still frames from the video of the hooded figure. He didn't speculate. He didn't accuse. He just presented. When he finished, Marcus nodded. "Perfect. We'll post it ourselves. Control the release." They uploaded it to Marcus's firm's channel and to Elijah's dormant social account. Within an hour, it had 5,000 views, then 20, then 50. Comments flooded in. Not all supportive, but enough to shift the tone. People calling him prepared, not privileged. Others asking why the HOA board was sneaking around in a hurricane. The hashtag changed from #stormmaker to #BaywoodTruth. By late afternoon, a new reporter arrived. Not one of the local tabloids, but a national outlet. She spoke softly, respectfully, asked to verify the evidence. Marcus agreed, showing her the files. She nodded slowly, frowning at the note. "If this is true," she said, "this is much bigger than a neighborhood dispute." When she left, Elijah sat on the couch, feeling the adrenaline drain out of him. Ava curled up beside him, resting her head on his arm. "Are we okay now, Daddy?" she asked. He stroked her hair. "We're fighting back," he said. "That's the first step." Outside, clouds gathered again, thick and low, the promise of another storm. But for the first time, Elijah didn't feel like prey. He felt like someone drawing a line in the sand. He looked at the cameras above the door, their little red lights blinking steadily, watching, recording, waiting. The morning sun rose pale and thin, filtering through streaked windows like an interrogation lamp. Elijah stood at the sink rinsing his mug, the smell of burnt coffee hanging in the air. Ava had gone to school with a neighbor he trusted. Marcus had insisted she not stay home today. The house felt empty without her laughter. Every creak in the walls sounded louder, as if the place itself were bracing. Marcus paced near the dining table, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, we have the footage. Yes, the note. He's prepared to testify," he said into the receiver. His eyes flicked to Elijah. "We're not backing down." He hung up, exhaling. The DA's office wants a formal statement this afternoon. They're taking the threats seriously now. Elijah nodded, gripping the edge of the counter. Good, because I'm done hiding. They've been building a case in the dark. I'm going to drag them into the light. Marcus slid a folder across the table. Start here. This is the HOA's budget from the last 5 years. Look at the Hurricane Preparedness Fund. Elijah opened it, scanning columns of numbers. At first it was just figures and lines. Then his eyes caught on a pattern. Large withdrawals marked as emergency mitigation months before any hurricane was forecast. Vendors listed as shell companies. The same addresses appearing on multiple invoices. There's siphoning, Elijah said softly. Taking the prep money. Marcus nodded grimly. Exactly. They built their reputations on safety funds, but never reinforced anyone's homes. That's why your house survived. You built it yourself. They pocketed the money. Elijah stared at the paper. And now they're blaming me to cover their theft. That's our leverage, Marcus said. If we expose this, we flip the narrative. Elijah leaned back, feeling the room tilt slightly. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about every neighbor who'd lost their roof. Every family displaced. The HOA had stolen their safety, then blamed the one man who still had his. He clenched his fists. We need proof the public can't ignore. I already have subpoenas in motion, Marcus said. But it'll take time. What we can do right now is rally the community. Elijah frowned. Most of them hate me. They're scared, Marcus corrected. But fear flips fast when someone shows a path out. You do that, and they'll come. Elijah looked at the cameras blinking above the door. He pictured his neighbors, Mr. Lewis with his crushed carport, Mrs. Ramirez sleeping in a motel with her grandchildren, the dozens whose insurance claims were denied. He pictured Sloan's smirk. Let's call a meeting, he said. That afternoon, Elijah and Marcus printed flyers on a borrowed printer. Plain paper, bold black letters. Community meeting tonight at 7 p.m. Carter residence. Learn the truth about the HOA funds. They walked door to door, handing them out. Some slammed doors. Some took them silently, but a few whispered thanks. A few eyes flickered with curiosity. By evening, clouds were rolling in again. Low and dark, the smell of wet asphalt drifted up from the street. Elijah set up folding chairs in his living room, heart pounding. He felt like he was inviting strangers into his sanctuary, but he also felt a strange calm. Marcus arranged the documents and laptop on the table. We're ready, he said. At 6:58, the first knock came. It was Mrs. Ramirez, clutching a raincoat around her shoulders. I'm only here to listen, she said quickly. Elijah nodded and offered her a seat. Then Mr. Lewis arrived. Then a young couple from the next street. By 7:10, there were 15 people crowded into the living room, dripping umbrellas, murmuring, eyes wary but present. Elijah stood before them. Thank you for coming, he said quietly. I know some of you don't trust me. You've heard the rumors that I somehow caused the hurricane, that I profited from it. I'm here to show you the truth. He clicked the remote. The TV lit up with slides. The HOA budget, the shell companies, the note taped to his door. Gasps rippled through the room. Marcus explained each line. Elijah showed the security footage of hooded figures photographing his home in the storm. This isn't about me, he said. It's about all of us. They took your money. They failed to protect you. And now they're trying to destroy the one person who can expose them. A murmur rose, anger blooming in the crowd. Mrs. Ramirez stood. My insurance denied my claim because the HOA said I'd been negligent. But I paid every fee they asked for. Every single one. Her voice cracked. Mr. Lewis jabbed a finger at the budget slide. That's theft, he said. Plain theft. Elijah nodded. We can take legal action together. Not just me alone, all of us. The young couple exchanged a look. We're in, the man said. More voices rose. Some skeptical, some furious. But the tide was shifting. Elijah felt it like a current moving under his feet. He wasn't just defending his house anymore. He was opening a door. Suddenly, a loud knock shook the front door. The room went still. Elijah's heart lurched. Marcus motioned him back and went to the people. It's Sloan, he whispered. Elijah stepped forward and opened the door. Sloan stood there in a rain slicker, eyes narrowed, two board members behind him. "This is an unauthorized assembly," Sloan snapped. "You're violating HOA bylaws. You're on my property," Elijah said evenly. "This is a private gathering." Sloan's gaze flicked past him into the room, saw the neighbors, the papers. "You're spreading lies," he hissed. "You're going to regret this." Elijah held his ground. "We're done being scared," he said. "Leave." For a moment, Sloan just stared, rain dripping from his hood. Then he smirked. "You think you're some hero? You're nothing but a man with a bunker. We run this neighborhood." He turned to go, but his voice dropped low as he passed. "You're finished." Elijah shut the door slowly. The room was silent, the sound of rain on the windows loud as applause. Then Mrs. Ramirez spoke. "He's scared," she said softly. "I've never seen him like that." Elijah turned back to the crowd. "This is what they do," he said. "Intimidate, threaten." But they're cracking. Marcus stepped up. "We'll file a class action by the end of the week. Everyone here who's been defrauded can join. We'll bring in state investigators." "This ends now." The crowd broke into murmurs, some nodding, some whispering to each other. Elijah looked at their faces, tired, angry, but waking up. "We're stronger together," he said. "That's what they fear." The meeting lasted another hour. When the last neighbor left, Elijah closed the door and leaned against it, exhaling. Marcus clapped him on the shoulder. "You flipped the board," he said. Elijah went to the window. Across the street, the HOA truck idled briefly, then rolled off. He watched it go, the rain glistening on its roof. For the first time since the hurricane, he felt something like hope. The storm inside was gathering, but it was no longer his alone. He turned back to Marcus. "They're not going to take this quietly," he said. Marcus's eyes were steady. "Good," he said. "Let them fight in daylight." Outside, thunder rumbled low, like a warning or a drumbeat. The courthouse smelled of wet paper and coffee when Elijah walked in that morning. Rain slicked off his coat as he passed through the security line. Marcus at his side. News cameras waited on the steps outside, their lens tracking him like hawks. The hashtag #BaywoodTruth had gone national overnight. Reporters shouted questions, but Marcus kept him moving. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, and the marble floor reflected their footsteps like ghosts. They entered the courtroom. The HOA board sat at the defense table, Sloan in the middle, jaw tight, eyes flicking to Elijah and away. His usual smirk was gone, replaced by something taut and brittle. Stacks of binders crowded their table. At the back, neighbors filled the benches. Mrs. Ramirez, Mr. Lewis, the young couple, even people Elijah didn't recognize, but who had driven hours to watch. The air felt charged, like before a thunderstorm. Elijah sat, heart pounding in his throat. He glanced at Marcus, who whispered, "This is our moment. Just breathe." Elijah inhaled slowly. He could smell the old wood of the pews, the faint tang of damp clothes. He thought of Ava at school, drawing rainbows on construction paper. He had promised her. Today was the day they stopped hiding. The judge entered. "All rise," the bailiff called. The room stood. When they sat again, the judge's gaze swept the room like a searchlight. "This hearing concerns Carter v. Baywood Homeowners Association," she said. "Mr. Carter, you allege harassment, intimidation, and misappropriation of funds. The defense counters with accusations of negligence and intentional harm. We will hear opening statements." Marcus stood first. His voice was steady, deliberate. "Your Honor, my client prepared for a storm that this HOA did nothing to mitigate despite collecting millions in fees. When his home survived, they fabricated claims, harassed him, and tried to ruin him to cover their theft. Today, we will show you documents, footage, and testimony proving not only his innocence but their fraud." Sloan's lawyer rose next, speaking quickly, nervously. "Your Honor, these claims are baseless. The HOA acted in good faith. Mr. Carter's so-called evidence is circumstantial. We contend he deliberately altered drainage systems on his property, worsening damage to others." Elijah's stomach knotted, but he kept his eyes on the judge. She nodded once. "Proceed," The morning unfolded like a drumroll. Marcus presented the HOA's budgets, pointing to the shell companies and unexplained withdrawals. The judge's eyebrows climbed slightly. Sloane's lawyer objected, but Marcus counted calmly, citing statutes and prior rulings. Then came the footage. Hooded figures photographing Elijah's home during the storm. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Mrs. Ramirez gasped audibly. Finally, Marcus held up a plastic evidence bag containing the note taped to Elijah's door. This threat was delivered while my client and his daughter slept inside. It was not an isolated act. It was part of a pattern designed to force him out. The judge looked at Sloane. "Do you have an explanation for this?" she asked. Sloane's jaw worked. "Anyone could have left that note," he said finally, voice low. Then Marcus called Mrs. Ramirez to the stand. She testified about years of fees, denied claims, ignored maintenance requests. Mr. Lewis followed, describing storm damage and the HOA's refusal to reimburse. One by one, neighbors spoke, their voices trembling but steadying as they went. The narrative shifted palpably. Elijah wasn't a lone figure anymore. He was a catalyst. During recess, Elijah stepped into the hallway. Reporters clustered at the far end, but he stayed near a window, staring out at the rain streaking the glass. His hands shook slightly. Marcus joined him. "They're unraveling," he murmured. "Sloane's lawyer keeps slipping up. We might push for criminal charges today." Elijah nodded but said nothing. He was thinking of the SUV outside his house, the anonymous call, the threat. This wasn't just a paper fight. It was survival. Back in the courtroom, Marcus delivered the coup de grace. "Your Honor, we subpoenaed the HOA's internal emails. Yesterday, a whistleblower provided us additional material." He clicked a button, and the TV flickered with screenshots. Sloane and two board members discussing how to frame Carter and bury him before he talks. Gasps erupted. The judge banged her gavel for silence. Sloane's face drained of color. His lawyer sputtered. This is inadmissible. It's court-ordered discovery," Marcus said coolly. Every word authenticated. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Sloane, do you understand the gravity of what I'm seeing?" Sloane's hands tightened on the table. "Those were jokes," he muttered. "Jokes about framing a resident for a natural disaster?" The judge asked. Her tone cut like ice. Elijah sat very still. The room felt like it was tilting, but this time toward him. He saw Mrs. Ramirez clutch her purse, eyes shining. Mr. Lewis whispered something to his wife. For the first time, Sloane looked small. Marcus spoke again, voice rising like a conductor at the crescendo. "This is not just about mismanagement. This is conspiracy. This is intimidation. This is theft from every family in Baywood." The judge looked down at the papers before her. "We will recess for 1 hour," she said. "I will review this new evidence before deciding how to proceed." As the gavel fell, Sloane shot Elijah a look that was all venom and desperation, but Elijah met it steadily. He thought of the note on his door. He thought of Ava's drawings on the fridge. He thought of every neighbor displaced by the storm, and he didn't flinch. Outside, thunder cracked, rattling the windows. Rain sheeted down on the courthouse steps. Reporters swarmed, cameras flashing. Elijah emerged with Marcus at his side. The crowd of neighbors followed, some holding up copies of the flyers from last night's meeting. Someone started clapping. Then others joined. It wasn't loud, but it spread, a quiet ripple of support. Elijah stopped under the overhang, water dripping from his coat. A reporter thrust a microphone at him. "Mr. Carter, how does it feel seeing this evidence come to light?" He looked at the camera. "It feels like the truth finally has a voice," he said simply. "This isn't about me winning. It's about all of us not being silenced." Marcus touched his elbow. "We're not done," he murmured. "But the tide's turning." Elijah nodded, eyes scanning the crowd. He saw faces, worn, angry, hopeful. For the first time, he saw not just victims, but allies. He raised his voice, speaking not to the reporter, but to them. "We're stronger than the storm," he said. "And we're stronger than the people who think they can profit from it." A cheer went up, ragged, uncertain, but real. Elijah felt it wash over him like sunlight breaking through clouds. The courthouse behind him, the storm above him. But inside, something steadier than both. He turned back to Marcus. "Let's finish this," he said. Malik stood on his porch the next morning, the air still heavy with the scent of damp earth and salt from the hurricane's passing. The sky was a muted gray, streaked with the faint gold of the rising sun. For the first time in weeks, there was quiet. No pounding rain, no hammering fists of HOA board members demanding he open his door. But inside, he felt anything but calm. His lawyer, Dana, had filed the emergency injunction last night. They had a temporary halt on the HOA seizure of his home. It was a victory, but a fragile one, like a thin layer of glass over boiling water. He sipped his coffee and watched a few neighbors haul debris to the curb. Some nodded at him now, small, tentative gestures of solidarity. It wasn't much, but it was something. When his phone buzzed with a new email, he already knew it wouldn't be good news. He opened it anyway, thumb trembling slightly. The HOA had sent a press release to local media. In it, they accused Malik of illegally fortifying his home in ways that redirected storm damage to neighboring properties. They framed him as a kind of hurricane profiteer, a man who used suspicious engineering to save his home at others' expense. Malik read the lines out loud, his voice a low growl. "They're trying to paint me like some kind of villain." He called Dana immediately. "They're doubling down," he said as soon as she answered. "Now they're telling the world I engineered a storm. I saw it." Dana replied, her tone calm but tight. "I'm drafting a response, but they're working overtime to smear you. We need to be prepared for court, and the court of public opinion." "Public opinion?" Malik muttered. "They've already got the HOA newsletter, the neighborhood Facebook group. They're poisoning the well. That's why we go bigger," Dana said. "Media interviews, your story, your voice." Malik rubbed his forehead. He'd never wanted this kind of attention. He was a quiet man, a problem solver, an engineer who liked his privacy. But as he glanced back at the framed photos of his parents, of the marches and the speeches they taught him about, he felt a steady resolve rising. They hadn't raised him to back down from injustice. "All right," he said. "Let's tell the truth." By noon, a local reporter named Jasmine had set up a small camera in Malik's living room. She was young, sharp-eyed, her notebook balanced on one knee. "This story's already going viral," she said, checking her phone. "People are outraged, but the HOA's narrative is strong. You'll need to be clear." Malik sat upright on the couch, his hands clasped in front of him. "I built my house to code," he began, his voice firm. "No shortcuts, no magic walls, just proper engineering, proper materials. The hurricane didn't skip my house because of me. It's because of science and preparation, and now they're punishing me for it." Jasmine leaned in. "Do you think race plays a role here?" Malik exhaled slowly. "I think if I didn't look the way I do, we wouldn't be talking about $10 million. We'd be talking about how to make all our homes safer next time. That's what hurts the most. They're not just accusing me. They're sending a message to everyone who looks like me." The interview aired that evening. Malik's phone buzzed nonstop. Friends, strangers, even some of his white neighbors sending messages of support. The hashtag #StandWithMalik trended on Twitter. Donations to his legal fund spiked overnight. For the first time since the hurricane, Malik felt like he wasn't standing alone on a cliff's edge. But victory was far from certain. The next morning, Dana called with a grim update. "They've got a new tactic," she said. "They're filing for a fast-track judgment, claiming you're delaying repairs for everyone else. They're trying to crush me before I even get to court," Malik said. "That's exactly right," Dana replied. "We'll counter, but it means more filings, more money, and more eyes on you." Malik paced his kitchen. The smell of coffee had turned acrid in his nose. "Let them watch," he said finally. "I've got nothing to hide." That afternoon, a group of neighbors gathered on his front lawn. Some he recognized, others he didn't. They held hand-painted signs. "Justice for Malik. Stop HOA abuse. This is not our community." One older man stepped forward, his voice shaky. "I'm sorry," he said. "I believed them at first. I thought you did something wrong. But I've seen the documents now. They're lying. Malik felt a lump rise in his throat. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Thank you for coming." As the crowd grew, local news vans rolled up. Reporters jostled for position. Microphones extended like spears. Malik stood on his porch, the weight of hundreds of eyes pressing down on him. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't a preacher. But he had something to say. "I didn't survive that hurricane to be destroyed by a lie," he said, his voice carrying over the crowd. "I built my home with my own hands, my own savings, my own expertise. And instead of learning from it, they're trying to take it away. This is bigger than me. This is about power and who they think deserves to have it. But I'm not going anywhere. Not now, not ever." The crowd erupted in cheers. Cameras flashed. Somewhere, a chant began, low at first, then louder, steady like a heartbeat. "Justice, justice, justice." Inside, Malik's phone buzzed again. A text from Dana. "You've got national media asking for interviews. This is it. But they'll also dig into your past. Be ready." Malik stared at the screen. He thought of his childhood, of his parents' small bungalow in Florida, of the storms they'd weathered and the fights they'd taken on. He thought of the long nights drafting blueprints, the back-breaking weekends building this house. Everything he had was in these walls. And now the world was watching him fight for it. As dusk fell, the crowd thinned, leaving behind a few volunteers picking up trash and stacking signs. Malik stood at the edge of his driveway, watching the last light fade. The cicadas buzzed in the damp air. He felt tired, but a steady fire burned in his chest. The battle wasn't over. It had barely begun. He went back inside, sat at his kitchen table, and opened his laptop. Another email had come in. This one from a national civil rights organization offering to back his case. Malik read it twice, then leaned back in his chair. For the first time, he allowed himself a small smile. The fight was bigger than him now. It was a movement. He glanced at the framed photo of his parents again. "We're doing this," he murmured. "We're really doing this." But as the clock ticked past midnight, another notification popped up on his phone. A news alert. The HOA president had just gone on live TV, calling Malik a danger to the community and hinting at criminal investigations. Malik's stomach tightened. They were about to take this war to a whole new level. Malik woke before dawn, his body still heavy from the week's chaos, but his mind sharp and humming with tension. The humid air of the Gulf clung to his skin as he stepped onto the porch. A thin mist rolled across the street, shrouding the neighborhood in a soft, eerie glow. His home stood tall,